I did. I mean, like I said, I can make a million excuses for it. I'm accountable. I did that. It's not fun to talk about. It's very embarrassing. It's not who I am. The only thing I can say is I pray to God that people can learn from my mistake, because I sure did. I sure learned.
For him, he says, the case was never about money. And his longtime attorney, David Houston, telling us it was never about the First Amendment.
This had nothing to do with political speech, freedom of ideas, freedom of words. It had to do with invading Terry Bollea's privacy for the most base of reasons, which was greed.
The plaintiff proved that the video was posted in such a manner as to outrage or cause mental suffering, shame, or humiliation to a person of ordinary sensibilities. Yes.
Hogan telling us he was overcome with emotion when he realized they won.
When I knew they checked yes, I just did this crazy involuntary snort like a 900-pound pig. And as I tried to not snort again, just water just came pouring out of my eyes. I just started shaking. And
so you were emotional because you felt that people finally believed you.
When the verdict came in and the people, the jury of my peers says, "We believe you," it just, the world is round. I told you. It was just really great.
Gawker says it is confident it will win this case on appeal, pointing out that jurors were not allowed to know that other courts had sided with it before this trial even began, and also pointing out they didn't get to hear from a key witness, that former friend, Bubba Clem. Robin and George?
Okay, Lindsay, thanks. So a ways to go here, but what a stunning award from that jury.
Sure was.
Stunning award indeed, Kirk Nurmi. Do you think the jury got it right?
Well, putting the dollar figures aside, I think the jury did get it right in the sense that it's a huge victory for privacy, not just the privacy of Hulk Hogan, but the privacy of every single one of us that we should enjoy when we go into the home of another and not think we're being videotaped. And this kind of reminds me a little bit of the Erin Andrews case as well. The videotaping of her in the hotel room. They kind of, I was asked a few weeks back on HLN saying, well, is this celebrities fighting back? And I said, well, to some degree that's true, but it's such an issue of privacy that affects us all in the cell phone, GoPro, camera era, if that makes sense.
Yes, indeed, yeah. So, but that you do feel, but do you feel about the money? He was asking for 100, and somehow he came out with 140, which we don't know when and if and how much he's actually going to see from that. But from that standpoint, what's your thoughts on $140 million?
Well, it sends a strong statement in that I think the jury must have been pretty disgusted with Gawker to say, well, you asked for this amount, but we're going to make it more because we are outraged by what happened to you. I think that's probably the takeaway from there, because it's not just a matter of saying, okay, we feel sorry for you, maybe we'll give you a portion of what you asked for. This is a jury saying, no, this is a clear violation, and we're really disgusted by it, and we're going to charge you, more than the asking price, so to speak.
And how is that? I really didn't know that much about that. Is there something on the paperwork when they're deliberating that says you can award more in damages? I guess there is, but
yeah, obviously I'm not an expert in civil litigation and in terms of a trial like this, but yes, juries, they'll ask for a certain amount, but the juries can award a penalty of that amount, or they can order a penalty greater or lesser than the requested amount.
Interesting. How did you feel about the Erin Andrews victory?
Well, again, I think it's akin to Mr. Hogan's victory in the sense that it is also a victory for privacy. And when I've been asked about these cases, I think certainly Mr. Hogan's behavior was, and he admitted it himself, a little less than exemplary in terms of the conduct that was denoted on the videotape. And in contrast, Miss Andrews was engaging in normal behavior, not behavior that anyone, I think, any sane person could consider to be immoral, and to have her privacy violated in that manner, and to hold account a company that is a hotel chain that is somewhat taking responsibility for securing the safety and I would argue the privacy of their tenants, holding them to account as well as saying, look, you have to take steps to ensure the privacy of your guests, because otherwise they could just pass the buck to these stalkers, as the man who filmed this, Miss Andrews was referred to. So, I think they're both huge victories for privacy, Jordan. It's a good thing for any of us, because what happened to these individuals, just because they're celebrities, doesn't mean it couldn't happen to any of us.
And as far as Hulk Hogan's behavior, are you saying, you're not really saying that just because he consented to having sex with, and that was bad and everything, and he acknowledged that he deserved to be videotaped, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. What I'm saying is, I think when the case was in trial, my thought was, well, the jury might not sympathize with him so much because of the activity. Aaron Andrews was just walking around, right? He was doing the same sort of thing that any of us might do in a hotel room. The concern is that some people tend to judge the activity of others through the prism of their own morality, right? And my concern going forward for Mr. Hogan was, jurors are going to say, yeah, but look what you were doing. You know what I mean? Not that you deserved it, and I'm not saying you deserved it, but the concern was jurors might think that he wasn't deserving as much sympathy as he might otherwise be.
Yeah, there's no question about that, and that's a very good point. It does send a message to potential people that want to film people and sell it, and both cases with the two celebrities are victories in that aspect. Okay, we do have a caller. Let's go out to Huntington Beach, I believe, and let's say hello to Sarah is on the line. Good evening, Sarah. You're on King Jordan Radio.
Hi, Jordan. Hi, Mr. Nurmi.
Hi.
I'm very glad
Sarah.
that you're feeling better and you're in remission, and continued best of health to you, really and truly.
Thank you.
A lot of topics tonight.
Yes.
I think that I just want to briefly address Pete Rose, one of my all-time favorite baseball players. And I know that, he did something very bad. I just wish that there would be a little forgiving for him. Gambling is a disease, and there are so many celebrities and athletes that have addiction problems, and they seem to be forgiven by the public, maybe not so much within their peer group. And it makes me remember the football player that was arrested for the dog fighting, and he was
Michael Vick.
Either he was found guilty or pled guilty, but he did time, and I respect him for that. And I'm not begrudging him having a football career again. I just don't understand why the football league is so different than the baseball league. And really, I know nobody can answer that question, but I'm comparing dogfighting and gambling, and I guess for me, dogfighting is worse than gambling, even if you're gambling for or against your own team. I don't know. I think poor Pete got a crappy deal.
Well, Sarah, you're right. He was a great ball player, but I do think the distinction here is probably the integrity of the game. The things, and again, I obviously can't speak for the commissioners of these leagues, but I think that's where the line would be drawn, in the sense that, well, what Michael Vick did was, you're right, way worse than what Pete Rose did, in a moral sense, I guess. In terms of the integrity of the game, that's where the issues arise, and I think that's where the line is being drawn here.
And I understand that. I just like, from a personal standpoint, I just feel bad for him, because I'm of the age where I followed Pete Rose for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Now,
the big red
I did
machine,
listen.
Huh?
Yes. In fact, my he was a phenomenal player. Now, as far as the death penalty and everything that's been said, I am truly for the Innocence Project, and I am truly for the death penalty, and I'm not here on the phone to argue why I am or why I'm not. But I truly think that there are cases where there is no doubt of guilt, that I just can't see these people continuing to live and enjoy even a morsel of chocolate or a volleyball game. It just bothers me. And which brings me to
there's certainly the people that feel that way, and I think obviously that's why we have the death penalty, and I think people can respectfully disagree on that topic.
I do want to say that I did see you in action. I went to the Jodi Arias trial for 2 days.
Okay.
And I didn't go because it was the Jodi Arias trial. I went because it was not so far from my house that it was like beyond reasonable. I do have an aunt and cousins that live in Arizona, so I went to visit them. And but I mainly went because it was the last trial that In Session covered from gavel to gavel. And I've been a trial watcher since the early 1990s, when it was Court TV, and then it evolved into In Session. So my very, very favorite legal commentators were there covering the trial, and I thought, this will be one chance that I get to meet my favorite people that I'd had in my home for years and years and years, every single day on my, what are they called? I can't even remember, the VH8, the tapes, those big, huge tapes I used to record the trials on when I was at work. So anyway, I did see you in action, Mr. Nurmi, and the days that I saw, it was the morning when Grace Wong, who it was a producer for In Session, was on the stand, and she was testifying. And then the second day was the first day of Dr. DeMarco's testimony. So I was delighted to be in the courtroom. Now, from watching lots and lots of trials on television and from being in this courtroom, I felt that the atmosphere in the courtroom was sacrosanct. I think that I wasn't aware of that there were cameras in the courtroom. The judge, your team, you and your partner Jennifer, and the prosecution, everyone was very, very, very well behaved on those 2 days anyway. Of course, I was only an observer, so I wasn't feeling the stress of having the television cameras all over the place and watching every move I make, whether I scratched my nose or rolled my eyes or whatever, like you guys were.
Right.
But I was also on jury duty last year in California, and it was a murder trial, and it was a first-degree murder trial. There were no cameras in the courtroom. California judges are not happy about cameras in the courtroom, and so this judge said no. And what I'm bringing this up for is because you talked about the presumption of innocence.